Hey, what's happening? It's Jamie. It is Friday, and I'm almost at the office. So what I want to talk about today is some stock stuff, but I'm going to lead into a little bit with some stuff going on very quickly, because I thought it might be relevant sometimes at the moment that someone's watching this. So for me, when you're younger, I was talking about this with a guy in my office the other day. He was the same age as me. And we were talking about risk, and he had a car, and he was thinking about just turning it in. He's like, I'm just gonna let it go, right? And I said, man, brother, you can't do that. You can't turn that car in. Why would you do that? He's like, well, I just can't afford both cars, and I need this other car. Seems like it'd be better for me to have. So I understand it. I'm not making fun of the guy. I'm just saying that I understand that there's some times when you get in over your head. Like, you got this car, he owes 20 grand on. It's a 2015. It's an SUV. It's he's like, I think maybe it's better I let it go. And I said, why don't you just put on Turo, right? He didn't know exactly what that was. I explained it to him. Like, maybe at least, the very least, you could cover your cost of the car, and and then maybe maybe make some money, but at least cover your cost. Worst case scenario, buy yourself some time, because if you pop the car, it's going to be a repo. It's going to hurt your credit, and you're 49. You're 49, and it's not like when you're 20, 30 even, or in that range. It's like you have a little more time to recover. But if you're 50 years old almost, right, like 48, 49, it's just to take a hit. I'm not saying you can't recover. It's harder. It's just like if you work out really hard and train, you may not recover as much as you could when you're in your teens and 20s. Your recovery time is a little bit different, I think, right? Scientifically, there's reasons why. So when you're making investing, if you're investing in stocks, you're trying to make plays that are safer. Now, understand that the volatility of a company like Tesla is extreme, in my opinion, but if you are, I try to use a lot of analogy. If you're a seafaring guy and you're out in the ocean, you're a shrimp guy, or what do they call those? Scallop fisherman, right? Or crab fisherman, whatever, tuna. If you watch the Wicked Tuna, there's different shows like that. But those guys are accustomed to the harsh weather out in the ocean, like the winds, the waves, the being tossed and turned around, where maybe a lot of people, if they were going to go on for the first time, they might freak out and they're like, what's going on? This isn't safe. But those guys do it every day, every week, every month, every year, and they're just used to the sea is a turmoilous place, if that's where you live, or work, and you make your living. So I look at 100 units or 100 shares of a company like Tesla, like I would if I invested in an apartment. Now, if I bought an apartment, multifamily or condominium plex or something like that, each unit might bring you $500. It might bring you $2,000. I don't, somewhere in that range. I mean, I find it's between $500 and $1,000 after you pay everything out. But you're holding the asset. So if I can buy a company like Tesla, have 100 shares, it gives me the right to sell a covered call each month or week or year, whatever you decide. I like to do monthly. I tend to buy them back because I'm making percentages on that 100% of the premium that I collect. So if I sell a covered call 1 month out, and my goal is for the month is to make $1,000, right, from that one covered call. It's like renting out an apartment. If I'm like, hey, if I can make $1,000, great, and cover, and I have the cost. I still want to keep the shares. I still want to keep my apartment. I want the appreciation. I want the appreciation of the apartment, and I want the appreciation of the stock price, like meaning that I know that hopefully Tesla will continue to go up. And you can fill in the blank with whatever company it is that you are investing in. So if Tesla continues to go up, if it goes from 270, I mean, granted, it could pull back, right? But if it goes up from 270 to 300 to 350 to 400 to, over the years, and you're just holding the shares, that's great. You got appreciation for the shares where you parked your money, and there's some benefits depending on how you bought those investments. But if you're selling covered calls, right, and that's the difference between long-term investing and trading, like a trading account, right? That's what they call a trading account. So if I'm trading, if I'm like, I'm selling covered calls, I'm not really flipping the shares. I'm selling 100 shares I'm using my 100 shares to sell a covered call, then if my goal is to make $1,000 a month or 500 or 2,000 from the money I have tied up in those 100 shares, I don't want to sell those shares. I don't want to lose them. I just want to look for the opportunities where I know even though there's volatility, I'm okay with that. I've gotten to that place where I'm okay with that. As long as that premium I collected, I get to maintain some or all of that premium. And that's why sometimes I buy them back early when I'm up 20, 30, 40%. Or sometimes I buy them back and I'm losing money. But most of the times I'm making the money, more times than not. So if I have 200 shares, I have 2 contracts. If I have 300 shares, I can sell 3 contracts, and 400, and so on and so forth. So the difference between Tesla and a lot of other stocks is they do have an inverse stock such as TSLQ. Now TSLQ, I can buy 100, 200, 300 shares of that when I think, oh, it's on a downtrend, right? So that's one of the things I do when there's a correction, or if it's pulling back to the baseline, the trend support as they call it, and the channel support. I'm like, well, I'm still not going to sell the shares. If anything, I'm looking for opportunities where I can add. I've been waiting to add for months now because I thought maybe it would break 200 and 180. We'll probably never see 100 again from what it looks like, but is it going to get back to 200? Is it going to get back to 180? So as you're adding the shares, you look for opportunities to add either long-term investment, or if you want to have 1, 2, 300 shares, if you're trading that particular stock, which in this case is Tesla, I'm looking for those pullbacks. But in this case, I have the 100 base shares or core shares. When it pulls back, I'm either selling out those covered calls, or I'm just buying. I'm also selling out these. The TSLQ shares. I don't really sell covered calls on the TSLQ shares because they run on a month. I think it's 2 weeks through a month that you have to wait for it to be able to actually sell them again. The shares. So you have to let the contract expire, so to speak, or you just have to buy it back. So I'm looking for 100 to 1,000 shares of TSLQ, depending on what the price is. Generally 100 to 500, and then when it dumps, when it pulls back, because it's the inverse of what the stock's doing, I'm trying to bank a few $100 there, or as much as I can make. Sometimes it's 1,000, sometimes it's 500, and then I basically let go of the shares because it's just the inverse of TSLA, which is actually a company. So the other thing I'll do is with the covered calls, when I know that it's high, or when I believe that it's high, I wait for it to be oversold or overbought, and I think, well, there's going to be some correction, and I'd say 60% of the time ish, I'm right from the information I've gathered and the things I'm looking at, and then there's a correction of $1 or $2 or $5, sometimes a little bit more. So when you're selling the covered call up high, you have no intention of letting it go to expiration. You're just saying that when it pulls back, I'm going to make some money on that because I don't want to sell those shares. I'm just going to buy back the covered call at a cheaper price. So now, even though the share price is lower and you watch the value of that go down, you are making money on the TSLQ, and you're making money on selling the covered calls, especially if you don't plan to let it go to expiration, because you're going to make 10, 20, 30%, maybe more on whatever that premium is. I go far out because I'm never going to let it go there. So, and that comes from information and learning how to, get the right information. But I'm going to head in here now. It's just something I wanted to talk about. It's something that I've been doing weekly in addition to all the other stuff I got going on. But if you have any comments or questions on that, let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.